everybody that's on.
There's
I
another
am.
attendee.
So there's 3 participants on screen, and then attendees as they come in, I'll be able to
Okay.
see promote them if they are
Okay,
part of anybody's team.
okay. All
And
right.
Nicole was
Yeah,
Nicole.
that's
So
me.
very
Yeah,
good.
that's the
I'm
call.
going to promote you.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna call the November special meeting of the Complete Streets Advisory Committee to order. And we have today board members. We have Patrice Granatowski, we have Lori Hendrickson, myself, and Tom Olson, who's on remote. We also have from the town, Jones, Greg Hanover, Mark Berry, and we have representatives from FHI. We also have resident Maggie. Would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Maggie Jones. I live at 62 Skyline Drive in Municipal.
Great, welcome. All right, so on our agenda, have there been any communications to or from the committee? Okay. How about the minutes from October? Have there been any questions on the minutes? You'd like to-
When was that sent? I don't. Yeah.
That's part of the packet that you just.
I got a draft.
You should have gotten an email
that
from
said
Jess.
regular meeting, right? But I didn't get,
You should have gotten an email yesterday from Jessica McCready from the town. McCready. It contained the minutes. No?
Yeah, I've never gotten anything from Jessica. Like
Really?
I had something from a draft from Lisa,
Mhm.
but it's a
Right.
regular meeting, and then you pulled it back and said it has to be a special meeting,
Right.
and then I got a Zoom invite. But I didn't get the minutes, so, I'll just see if there's something that will just be anything.
I think I also only have the draft.
Let's see.
That would be.
That's the same for me also.
I think it's just if you go to the town's website, you'll find all the attachments there, but I don't believe it was sent.
Can you forward yours then? Possible?
Yeah, I can forward. I'm looking at it and it's only addressed to me, which doesn't always mean that it didn't go to anyone else, but it is. Surprised.
Right, just give us a minute to get it through the town website. I'll just, okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we can, let's set approval of the minutes aside. It's not urgent. And we can take up the next item, which is adoption of the next year's meeting schedule. So that's also in the packet. And it's really just a monthly date of our regular schedule, which is the third Wednesday of each month. Okay, through the end of the year, plus January of 2026, just to have the beginning of the next year on the calendar. And there's no change in the meeting time or this room for our meeting location.
You want. Just move in the calendar down. So everything is still gonna be, stays 3:30. I move acceptance of the meeting calendar for 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, and that carries by unanimous consent. Okay, so that's great. Thank you very much.
Next, about 4 minutes.
Brian, I did not get a copy of that listing, so I don't have that to include into the minutes. So if you
Okay.
could, and I went to the town website while we've been talking this, and they never posted the meeting for this, for the agenda package with the minutes and all that stuff, for yesterday.
Well, Deb
Yeah,
sees it.
I can find it, Tom.
Okay.
Go
Well,
into-
if somebody could forward it to me, I appreciate it, because I didn't get it. with these new dates. So, thank you.
All right, while we're getting that all straightened out, let me just move to the next item, because this is really just an update on the status of the project. So the Noank Road culvert replacement project is getting started. And that's at Anderson Marsh, BB Cove. It's between Brook Street and the entrance to Mystic River Homes, the congregate care facility on Noank Road. And it's been in planning for quite a while. When it was first unveiled by DOT, it did not include any provisions for complete streets improvements. But it had been flagged by the Council of Governments and by Groton as a project that should include complete street improvements. And we had conveyed that to the department, but it had actually just been overlooked. So our comments had an immediate impact, and the design was revised to extend the length of this repaired culvert so that the roadway could be widened for a period of a few hundred feet. It's not a major improvement, but nevertheless, it allows for 5-foot shoulders, painted off shoulders along the roadway, which currently do not exist. So the benefit is that beyond just a short part of Noank Road being more bicycle friendly, if in the future more of the roadway were to be modified and therefore widened, this would not be a bottleneck. And that has happened over and over in Connecticut where DOT projects like this, which seem to be kind of obscure projects, turn out to be impediments for complete streets improvements. So the Council of Governments, in particular, Kate Rattan there, has been vigilant, looking out for us, well, for all the communities in the region to flag projects like this. So thanks to her, and thanks to Mike Groton for staying, on top of it. And what is happening now is that the utility poles are being relocated because they have to be moved out of the way of the work. So you may have seen Eversource out there, and that happens first, and then the work will really get underway in spring, from what I understand. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. The next item is a new public information meeting notification for another bridge on Groton Long Point Road. So this is one that's been in discussion for a lot longer than the railroad bridge that you already know about. This is the bridge over Palmer Cove, which is a very old bridge. It's very close to sea level. It has structural and sea level proximity issues. And DOT is going to have a virtual public meeting on December 3rd, 7 p.m. So it should be real easy for everyone if you're interested. If you're curious about this, if you've heard about this in the past, you might have heard about the controversy over whether there would be a sidewalk running south from the bridge, connecting the bridge to the nearest residential community, which happens to be Groton Long Point. So it'll be very interesting to see whether that sidewalk is in the project, because there have been some opposition to connecting the bridge to the Groton Long Point community by sidewalk. And I'll say no more about that. We'll find out. Okay.
Brian, can I just add,
Yes, please.
especially on the, as you said, the town's been involved in this project for a number of years. We had put in CIP money, as Patrice knows, for design and stuff. And more recently, we were made aware of a federal local bridge program where we could have DOT take over the design and construction administration of this, with the federal government paying 100% of the cost. So this, which was, very enticing. The council approved us going through this program. So there's no cost to the local taxpayers. It's all 100% federal funds. So they are replacing the bridge. It is going to be widened from 50 feet to 100 feet, which is between the abutments. So it's a big improvement, and it's going to be raised, as you mentioned. as far as the sidewalk goes, or the width of the bridge is gonna be widened a couple feet. The bike lanes are gonna go from 3 feet to 5 feet wide on both sides. The travel lanes will be reduced a foot from 12 to 11. And there is gonna be a sidewalk put on the bridge and a portion of the causeway on the north side. That's what DOT is settled on, running from Esker Point Beach and over the bridge. And right now they're showing it stopping at the first driveway on the north side, which is actually Noack. The town, we've been pushing DOT to extend that sidewalk all the way to East Shore Avenue so that it connects with a crosswalk there to the sidewalk network in Ground Long Point. DOT they gave some, I think, weak arguments of why they shouldn't do that. I've been fighting with them about it and trying to get it pushed through. They suggested, or I've heard that if somebody from this committee or the committee feels strongly about having that sidewalk, attend that virtual meeting, put those comments in, that it might make more weight than me telling them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
Okay.
I would just, if the committee feels that that's important, then I would suggest you make those comments. You can do comments 2 weeks after that virtual meeting in writing to them, to DOT as well. So I would just ask that you guys consider that.
Okay. All right. I'm sure it would help if the residents that live south of the bridge also advocated for the sidewalk. Thank you very much. All right, do we want to return to the minutes or do we want to wait? We can always defer minutes to the next meeting. If members would like to have more time to review
There's
them.
2 pages, so I would like to go and read them.
Why don't we just defer?
Bob?
That's fine.
Okay.
Let's just defer them till next month. Okay. All right, that brings us to the old business part of the meeting, which focuses on the complete streets and trails plan. We have members of FHI here. Welcome. Thanks for coming down on this thankfully rainy day.
Ryan, I just wanted to interrupt before you go farther. I just got an email from Cindy Berry that she's now online, but only by phone.
Okay, we see her there. Okay.
Okay.
Terrific. Thank you, Tom. Hi, Cindy. Welcome. We're about to start the main.
Hi, Brian.
The main activity. So I'm gonna just give it to FHI. Whoever would like to.
Yeah, I'll get us started, and I'm not going to stay in the meeting. I had a conflict today, so I just want to get us started off, provide some context as to the purpose of our session today, and then leave it to Rory and Nicole, who have really done much of the work on this project to carry it through. We are at the point in our process where we need to advance conceptual design plans for 5 corridors across the town. And we had taken a look at some of those potential corridors at our last meeting. And so we've identified a number of candidates for our work. We want to basically go through those with you in some detail today and take whatever time you would like to spend on it. To walk through what we proposed in the bicycle network plan and how it lays out on the ground. And so we prepared a bunch of plans, and I envision this as being a gather around the table type exercise. We brought markers and we have very large plans right in front of you. And it's our intention to really workshop this, to show you the corridors in question. And Route 1 is one of those very important corridors that is broken up into 3 segments because of the length of the corridor. Walk through with you what we see as some of the opportunities and the challenges for providing complete streets facilities, bike facilities along those corridors, and take the time as necessary to discuss what you see as the potential, and then ultimately to make a decision on which 5 of the corridors that you would like us to advance conceptual design for. And as you might recall from our last meeting, I showed you an example of what a conceptual design on a segment of Route 1 looks like. And that involves us determining which side of the roadway facilities should be provided on, one side or both sides, depending on the type of the facility, how intersections need to be treated, constraints that would need to be addressed, whether topographic or right-of-way constraints, property easements that may or may not be required, potential conflicts with utility structures. Really to put together sufficient amount of detail in the design that we can attach a planning level cost estimate to it that you could then use in pursuit of a grant or even to start to develop capital funding for some of these projects. So that's the purpose of our effort today, is really to help move this forward. And we will be very busy with this work over the next month and a half in trying to wrap it up by the end of the year. So that being said, I'm happy to receive any questions, and then I'll leave it to Rory and Nicole to walk you through this exercise.
Brian, I have a question, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. You said there are 5 corridors we're going to be looking at today and kind of workshopping, correct? And then I was just trying to grab the minutes here. How many are included in the contract for you to actually produce for the town then? I know Route 1, the minutes say, was the equivalent of 3 projects, right?
Correct.
So are you doing 5 or to choose 5 out of what's in front of us, and Route 1 being 3 of those 5? So then we're going to choose 2 others?
That's correct, assuming you choose all of Route 1. We have, I believe, Nicole, is it 7 corridors that we brought forward as potential candidates?
That's what the minutes say from last time.
Yeah, Nicole, I'm asking Nicole though. Nicole, could you confirm?
Yeah, because otherwise, yeah, it doesn't pick up. I think it's.
Yep, so we have all
Yep.
of Route 1, which is 3 segments, 3 corridors, or 3 concepts. Buddington Road, Flanders Road, High Street, and then South Elm and Elm on Route 215. And I have it marked on this map, and then I can also put this up if that's helpful. It just kind of outlines those corridors. So yeah,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes, and to your point, you are correct. We are scoped to develop conceptual plans for 5 corridors or areas. Now, Route 1, maybe you determine that there's 1, 2 segments of Route 1 that you're particularly concerned with. It doesn't have to be all 3. We'll leave it to you, but point being is 5 corridor projects.
Thank you.
Hi, Francisco. This is Kate
Hi,
Rattan.
Kate. Good to see you. Sorry I didn't get a chance to say hi to you at SNEPA last week. I saw you there, but
No worries. I was wondering if you looked at the corridors in terms of other challenges for transportation or development or other planning tasks, and have identified any corridor segments where what's really needed is a more robust planning process than is possible within this structure.
yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, we have a balance of local roadways and state roadways that we brought forward. Route 1 obviously being a state roadway. Route 1, it is definitely the most complex, right? However, based upon our review of it, we do think there's some feasibility for a side path along a good stretch of it. And the easternmost area, the easternmost segment, we think is appropriate for a combination of shared roadway and bike lanes. So while Route 1 could very well be deserving of study through a corridor project, and in which case you would be looking to plan for complete streets improvements, including bicycle facilities. I think we have sufficient amount of information. We think there's adequate feasibility to move that forward as a concept without a much bigger study. The rest of these projects are fortunately much more straightforward. And we don't think a larger study is required. But to your question, you could make a case that Route 1 really deserves a corridor study and deserves to be looked at comprehensively. But we see some opportunities for providing facilities there now as it is that would not be adversely impactful to traffic operations along the corridor.
Okay, and I just had one other comment, was that just yesterday we had a webinar for funding that's funding solicitations for this fall. We have TRIP and LOTSIP solicitations open. When thinking about the scope of one of those construction, it's a capital improvement program. We're looking for projects that are less than $4 million. So in terms of trying to define your logical termini for project areas, that's kind of the goalpost. If you need more money than that, you're looking at RAISE or Safe Streets for All or a discretionary grant that might be larger.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
Francisco, can you just refresh on Route 1? What are the beginning and end points of the 3 segments?
I have that up too.
I was gonna say, or I can turn on the overhead camera, whatever works easier.
Yeah, we also have it delineated on.
Yeah,
That's what I will do.
Yeah, and we also have it delineated on the maps that are in front of you. And on the plan sheets. It's roughly 1/3 lengths, and we can get into the details on either on screen or on one of the maps as to exactly where those are. But it's divided roughly into thirds.
No, this is a older version of our network, but it's Group 1 from Tollgate to Buddington, and then Buddington to Blanders, and then, or no, sorry, Buddington to Knowing Ledyard Road, and then Knowing Ledyard to Mystic. It's a little bit, let's see, that's this. And then
Gotcha, okay.
It's notable that the VIP list for 2025 has repaving, pretty much in that eastern section.
How soon?
That'll be going out to construction in April.
Yeah, it's the very end, right down by downtown Water Street, and then I think from the London Road down to their street on Route 1. It's a small area.
There's also a lot of momentum behind that, just because there's also a Municipal working group that's looking at tourism and transportation issues. And so we kind of have a little bit of a push from those.
Does that entire section have curbing?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very constrained width-wise.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's sidewalks, curbing.
okay.
And VIP now includes ADA upgrades for eligible crossings. So those are crossings of the state road, not crossing the minor road. But those would be updated for ADA compliant curb ramps and landings. But DOT doesn't have a practice of showing us what they're pavement marking plans.
Could enhanced mid-block crossing
That's a
infrastructure be
different
included?
program. There's a whole separate project where they implement RFPs for other crossing technology. I know that at Allen Street, there's going to be 2 signals. There's going to be a signal put in at the Allen Street ramp, and that should have APS, but pedestrian.
Well, I know that in the section being repaid, there's a crosswalk at New London Road and where it meets Route 1 on an angle.
Yeah. and then the one
There's a
down-
really,
I
the
see.
sight lines are really poor.
Yeah, it's a good candidate. We've been
Those,
trying to get the state to do the RF or the rapid flashing beacons.
well, this
So
would
we've been
be the
looking at
time to
those.
do it prior
Yeah.
to the repaving, because you have to install across street. Or maybe not.
No, they're all solar powered.
They're all, okay.
They've also been repaving currently right there. This is another,
Yeah, that's more of a patch.
this is like a pre-paving, okay,
That's the water, yeah, Aquarium's been water mains in there.
oh, okay.
Yes. Temporary. Okay.
How much of that section, we're talking about one being in segments, right? And you're talking about, can you put the map back, please?
Yes.
Thank you. It's easier, I think, for everybody to see it up there than to try to look at the paper on the table at this point. How much of that section is part of this VIP plan? Is it a small section of like a third of it maybe, or?
Not even that, it's a very small section.
So is it still worthwhile then to keep that as a possibility for us to pursue?
I think that you guys should still consider it because, you can be more holistic. VIP is gonna go forward regardless.
Okay,
At this point.
okay.
And it's just gonna be, the scope of VIP is mill and pave. Put back everything the way that it was. They're doing some work with, widening shoulders and their own, lanes, but that's the standard.
All right, so then we shouldn't let that deter us from considering that portion of Route 1.
Okay, so I think if anything, just forward, if you have recommendations for that area, then forward them to District 2 ASAP so that what is possible within VIP could conceivably be considered.
Okay.
Kate, hearing you correctly, I think on our plan, we are recommending bike lanes and shared roadways in that section of Route 1. Is that something that, I know you said VIP.
Yeah, within VIP, DOT has broadened their scope, so they will put in, the transverse line on the shoulder line. And they are starting to do handwork, which is a divergence from their previous policy, so they'll put the handwork in the symbology that they have to do by hand. They'll do that during VIP. It would be the municipal responsibility to maintain them. Which
So-
is a consideration.
Is that automatically included, or are they gonna need something from us saying we would like that
Yes,
done?
They definitely need correspondence from the town saying this needs to be included. And it may not be possible because they're going to follow the letter of the ASHTO Green Book and HDM with respect to the width of the bike lane being wide enough to constitute a bike lane, and that would be 4 feet with no curb to Brian's point, and 5 feet with a curb.
Okay,
So I think the most we could hope for in that section that's going to be repaid is a shared roadway condition with share roads.
I would push them for a bike lane, but I don't know, I haven't gone out there with the tape measures.
No, it's only 2 lanes today. which is
Yeah.
24 feet maximum. Really, I think.
Yeah, at that very eastern end, there isn't sufficient width to accommodate bike lanes, which is exactly why we show it as a shared roadway. Fortunately, the speeds are relatively low down there.
Right.
Yes, the residents.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and I say relatively, compared to the Gold Star Highway, it's a big difference.
Well, that section notwithstanding, the rest of that segment includes Route 1 past the what's it called, the Merritt Family Forest on the south side, and past Flanders Road, and then up Fort Hill, and then down Fort Hill, and that's an area of high hazard for cyclists, for sure. And it's also kind of an important linkage to get from one side of that town to the other, so I think that that's still a viable segment, for sure.
I don't know. Do we want to break off now and look, kind of piece by piece?
Yeah, it seems like we quickly jumped into Route 1, and
Yeah.
if you folks are more comfortable with looking at things on screen rather than huddling around $200 worth of paper, then we could, Nicole, do you have those files as a PDF you could just project up on the screen and zoom and pan around as needed? Can we
I
do?
think it's valuable to have both, actually. I think we want to put marks on the paper,
Yeah, okay.
which is your intention, but I think also maybe keeping this map up on the screen is valuable too.
Yep, I can also
Okay.
pull up those corridors.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah, why don't we move to paper, and Nicole, why don't you just start by giving us kind of an overall
Yeah.
tour of what's here?
All right, and so this is where I drop off. I'll leave it to you folks. So thank you very much for making yourselves available for this work today. It's really going to help us move forward.
Brian, why don't you put the camera on? Then,
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
because the people online can then see what you're marking up too.
Although it's probably what you have online, but that's.
Well, then let's only have one.
Which one do you
Let's turn that off and turn this on.
No, he's
Conservation.
conservation.
It's just a volunteer. Do you want to stop?
Volunteer, but
Um,
we see a lot of them. He volunteers a lot.
Lucky. That happened. This is our first segment of the Route 1 piece, and, as Francisco explained, if we take a look at Route 1, we kind of broke it off into 3 different segments, just based on the length and complexity of it. But that being said, the easternmost segment that we were just kind of discussing earlier, if that one with the bike lanes and the sharrows is not something, not a concept that you think is gonna be that valuable, we can, just do the 2 Route 1 segments and pick some others to take a look at, but
We can make
this,
some
so this first, kind of line cut here is from 1 to 2, so that going down, so.
Yeah, so
these are
there's
the
little
4.
numbers if we.
Oh, I see.
If that helps,
Yeah,
so
that
this
does.
is the first, second, third and fourth segment, which it generally follows what Francisco had cut it off into thirds. I think the first one ends at Buddington Road, so there's a little bit extra, but we can always adjust based on. So.
Okay,
All right, I'm confused though, because this has, if we're looking at this, right? This is 1. All the way?
Red one, yes.
Yeah,
But we said there were 7 segments,
Right.
7 ends here.
So it's,
We're not.
it's on the sheet, so,
These are the sheets. This is 1,
so segment 1
That's
ends
2.
at Buddington Road.
3, 4. Well, it's
So we
after
could
4.
even mark this, Nicole.
Yeah, if that helps.
So like, segment 1 of the
Yeah.
Route 1 segment is this,
That's helpful.
but for
Yeah.
plotting,
Yeah.
we had to
Yeah.
cut it,
Yeah,
and
this,
I think.
That's more helpful if you could do that.
Yep,
please.
and then Nicole, where is this one? Is it? Anders?
No,
Oh.
9.
I have a question about section 1, and my question is, were you able to get any data from DOT about their I-9 ped file study?
Yeah, just turn it so it's facing these guys and it'll show it not upside down on the screen. There we go.
I missed the first part of your.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Were you able to get any information from DOT's, planning team for the Pell study? So they're doing a capacity and safety study on 95 from Brantford, Rhode Island. And they're focusing in on areas, and I believe that Groton was a focal area. They should have preliminary recommendations from that state. It's really a planning study.
Yeah, I know Francisco's been in contact with them and reaching out, because we want to make sure we're coordinating everything that's going on, and so it's so helpful to have you here today. And we'll follow up on that and pursue that.
My understanding is that they're gonna take that Pell, and any of those recommendations are gonna have to go through a full design process to public engagement, so. And it's going to definitely deal with ramp systems, but I don't know how involved it's gonna get on here. These,
Yeah, the ramps are definitely this
I think
first.
these 2
segment.
bridges are gonna go into design too.
Do you want that upside down?
Greg, which ones is it, they go over Route 1, right?
Which ones?
There's
Sorry.
2 bridges that they're rehabbing, and it's
Oh, the ones, yeah, those 2 right there, yeah.
they don't anticipate, it's just rehab, so they're not giving us any more space or anything like that.
Yeah, so this,
So we need to turn this around now. So-
Yeah, you don't want it upside down on the screen. It needs to face the country.
So right upside down.
Kind of what it
All right,
is.
So why don't you move that off now? All right, let's
Yeah.
get into this.
So this first segment of Route 1 is, we're proposing a side path. And I think that goes all the way until that third segment starts. So the first couple of sheets are gonna deal with proposed side path.
Oh, okay.
And on here I have marked Pleasant Valley Road, the existing side path ends here. And the idea is to pick it back up on Pleasant Valley Road South and then onto Route 12, which eventually turns to Route 1.
So that's the north side of Route 1,
Yeah, I have little arrows up here.
south.
So south side
West side.
is kind of a proposed idea, at least for the initial segment, and like Kate was saying, the ramps are gonna pose issues. On the south side, it's more ideal until you get over to the next set of ramps. And
Right,
then-
there's like a lot of highway.
Yeah. So there might have to be some crossing to not, be going. into the
So
ramp.
it's a good condition until you get to this,
Right.
this
Every
Yeah.
ramp.
slip ramp, very long slip ramp onto the cloverleaf. So that's a barrier.
Yeah, so there's a crossing at Bridge Street, so we wanted to get onto the north side. Also, over here, I would consider crossing the north side as well. Or switching back to south side over here. Because eventually, on Route 1, that existing side path near the community or near town hall. That we'd like to, and the Paquonic boardwalk, we want to be on the south side. To connect. And initially the south side is favorable, but
So I think north of the interchange, the northerly side of the road is beneficial because you have the major commercial developments.
Right, like where people are going.
Where people are going, and then, but as you get further north, then the sub base becomes the larger attractor. The 95 Gold Star Bridge, projects 94 to 67, I think, has access at the same points that it currently has, for the multi-use path, down in the very low lying area.
yeah, the more we
Here,
can mark up on. the
But
map.
there's a consideration of potentially getting access somewhere up here, which would be near Pleasant Valley Road.
So you're saying the north side would be favorable in which,
So just here, you've got
Yeah.
Stop and Shop, Kohl's, Walmart, and there's some
Yeah,
jobs.
I can't be over there by then.
So it's like
Oh
a,
my
it's like a
goodness.
balancing act between the
Yeah.
attractors and destinations, and then the more feasible topography and property condition, right? Because this side appears to have less property condition,
driveways.
driveways and narrow, narrow conditions with private owners.
But you also already have a sidewalk, so you're begging for 5 feet, not, you're begging for another 5 feet, not a whole 10 feet.
Oh, I see what you mean.
We are also looking at completing sidewalk gaps too, so that's
Mhm.
another like consideration.
Mhm.
I think this has sidewalk as well on this side. But, and I think the entire length of Route 1, we want to have sidewalks on both sides of the roadway.
Not to.
Yeah,
So
I
the
do also
confusion, but
have
we do
the
have the
sidewalk.
sidewalks here too. These listed more paper.
Would Groton consider a cycle track where in the curb to curb and you can take out the lineators and the fall and plow it?
So it's easy, and then we steal lane or steal some of the food pattern. If possible, I mean, it's also CMP, so it's a logistic corridor.
But how do you deal with these ramps? You have a sidewalk.
way you're gonna deal with them and
No.
you could eliminate some slip ramps and make them right turns. But that's gonna definitely cause delay.
What's the advantage of the suggestion you had? Like, why would we do that instead of the other?
If you don't have any additional right of way, and it would cause, non-compliance with the zoning code for the commercial buildings. Like if you have to have significant parking takes, then that may be a big enough impact that.
And Brian, would you say is the downfall with that?
Or just what Kate just said, is that, you know, does it take too much from an existing property? But it sounds like it almost needs to be studied. Which side is more feasible? You guys need to look at it and evaluate feasibility and take into consideration ideas like eliminating, like, for example, could this slip lane be largely eliminated? Have the vehicles merge into there are 2 lanes of southbound or eastbound traffic. That would give you quite a bit of real estate to put a path in.
There had been previously an application submitted for lots of that would have altered this Bridge Street and Old Kings Highway. It was not pursued because the benefit was for the private landowner. The EV has a lot over there. And DOT found that it wouldn't be consistent with their program guidance. But I think it's notable that it's a very confusing intersection that has, you know, multiple multiple friction points. And we might be able to, if that can be resolved, then you might be able to reduce the friction and congestion and get the whole thing operating. Is it this intersection right here?
I think it's one.
It's
Yeah.
It's
Bridge
Avoid the
Street, Old
intersection.
Kings Highway.
Yeah.
I think it's this business, right? Is that?
Yes.
right, that's right.
That's the match line.
I.
Hey,
So we both have
You
that.
get the 95 off ramp coming into that intersection.
one of the things that I think you had said last time was the idea of signage and not knowing what's coming ahead, right? Like you don't know like where the things are gonna change, so that kind of supports what Brian was just saying, is we should be consistent on one side of the road or the other. That way you don't have these cyclists that are like, all of a sudden you're on this side and, oh no, wait, we've got to get across this like crazy traffic and go down the other way. So I think that supports what Lori had said
Right.
last time.
Right. Because it's really almost unrealistic to tell cyclists that they're gonna have to stop, get off their bike, wait for a signal to change, that they
Right.
can cross over to the other side.
Right.
They're gonna wanna just keep on going with
Yes.
everybody else. So even if you have to, it's just hard to do. I know it's hard to do if it's a 2-way facility on one side of the road. But I think that's our goal, is to look at the potential transformation of a condition that's currently a barrier and turn it into an opportunity. And it sounds like, okay, that's just what we're describing for the Bridge Street Highway area. If the town is now asking for that from the department, because it is part of a complete street transportation connectivity plan, then they're going to pay more attention to it than they did coming from a private property.
Yeah, it was the town requesting, reconstruction of, from Old Kings.
Yeah, it was, but it was to the benefit of the road. So this is not to the benefit of.
Well, it will be, but it's just much larger
Exactly.
benefit now
Exactly.
that we're looking at it, right?
And I think to position yourself best, you talk about how we're gonna deal with the congestion, because it's all these closely spaced intersections through here and the offsets. That are really, you know, the challenge, and we have a lot of crash incidents as well.
What were the disadvantages of having it on the north side? We thought that we were taking it from the sidewalk.
Well, eventually we do want to connect back further down on Route 1 to Connecticut Boardwalk and the existing multi-use trail. You also have the existing side path that goes along Route 12.
All the way to the base.
Yeah, it cuts right here and we would want to connect to that facility also.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that kind of seamlessly could tie in up here, but
So we have this section that's already built on the south. You know, what's the extent where the southerly side is like really drawing us? Versus the north side, so I look at, you know, trying to make that connection with South Road and the boardwalk.
Mhm.
So I think you gotta get it at least over to South Road. This Quonic crossing of the railroad is also where the ECRTS study talked about a potential for a TOD train station, and if you have desires for creating a TOD,
We do
I
have
would-
sex.
maybe at least keep it, if you have it, maybe that's where the south needs to hit, is at that location. I'm just trying to see like how far you have to go on each direction.
I would say if you keep it on the south. And then you get it down to the part of town near Pequannock Plains, say, the road is narrower. So if you have to have a cyclist crossing the road, you're only crossing 2 lanes versus crossing 4, or however many are up closer to Oleo, right? And then at that point too, they would have a reason to stop. I mean, like you could stop and you could break off, you could go to Bloodborne, you can cross and, you know, and then you gotta go up the hill. I'm assuming you're gonna stay on the south side anyhow to get up Fort Hill. Right, to lead them back there, so I would lean towards the south, putting it on the south side.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we'll take everything back with us and work through the different concepts. I think we wanted to make sure that we looked kind of piece by piece. We've noted some of the things that we pointed out, you know, like right of way narrows, lots of curb cuts, things like that. Is there any other, you know, things of note that we missed here, you know, before we move on to that kind of middle piece of the segment? You know, these the yellow lines are, you know, the parcel lines, so you'll see, you know, the road, the right of way gets narrower in certain spots.
Well, so just remind everyone what the side path will be, because we already have sidewalk from about here all the way down. It's assuming it's a 5-foot sidewalk. You refer to only needing 5 more feet.
yeah, so it'd be something very similar to what exists.
But are you talking about from the base of curve to the edge of the new pavement? It's going to be 10 feet. And that would accommodate 2-way bicycle traffic and pedestrians. Is that what we're referring to?
I would
That's
consider
seems
a
tight.
utility swale, because you are gonna end up with like.
You have a ton of
Yeah.
holes and stuff.
Yeah.
So 10 foot for the actual
Okay,
facility.
I don't want like a 5-foot snow show.
okay. So it's really more like 15 feet from the face of curve.
That is tight.
But that is better than just squeezing it right up against the curve. So
Gives you a little
Yeah.
buffer for the bicycles.
yes.
I mean,
Right.
some of this sidewalk does have, like this northern side here has more of the buffer already than the south side's kind of,
South side is really tight.
yeah.
I also get really concerned about ADA compliance, and not just compliance, but actual like ethics and morals. When you have the facility right against a curb, because it means that every driveway is tilted and for mobility impaired folks, so it could be really challenging.
My thing was on the segment where Clarence Sharp comes up. And then, so like from where you come off of Clarence Sharp and you meet 1 and then you make the right, like, that Hampton Inn over there. That's kind of crazy there. But the other side of the street, I've seen a guy in a wheelchair sitting in the middle of traffic because there was no curb cut for him to get up there. So that's that section is. That's 3, is that through 2 to 3? I can't go.
I think right now the sidewalk's only on the north side of that bridge.
Bridge Street is there.
Where's the ramp from Clarence Sharp onto 1? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's right here.
That's where that post-it note is. Clearly.
Right here. Yeah, there's no sidewalk. There's, yes. I mean, you guys are gonna look at sidewalk gaps as well,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So within these concepts, it's both the bicycle and the pedestrian.
The wheel,
So-
scooter.
So I don't think there's any question, am I right, that we believe this to be a high priority segment? This part of Route 1? You all agree?
This is definitely the most challenging.
Most
that I went
challenging.
through.
I agree that this is probably the
Really want
highest.
you to deal with
Yes, I think.
Yeah, if you had these segments.
You really can't like.
Brian,
did
Brian,
the design.
Tom wants to say something.
Yes, Tom, you're.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
agree that this is, I would say either the first or second priority for the town between this and I would, the others going down by Johnson's Hardware, that section is a higher it might be a little bit higher priority just in my mind, just because of the volume of accessibility, a number of kids and that type of stuff. This is definitely used as far as that connection to the sub base, and there is a lot of traffic on this for pedestrians, and there's very little bike right now because it's so hazardous. People just stay away. But I think we need to encourage it.
From a programming standpoint, does the city want to make sure for the city want to make, I'm sorry, want to make. Do you guys want to make sure that you have at least one local road that you don't have to deal with DOT?
Yeah.
To get.
Yeah.
Something.
So we're doing, so we broke up just based on size Route 1 into 3 segments, but we're gonna be doing 5 concepts total. So we have there's like a few, Buddington, Flanders Road will also be one. Buddington Road is one we'll take a look at. I think this one, Nicole down here, was Southend,
Yeah, that's still steep, but.
Yeah, so we'll look at all those. So, in addition, say we did all 3 pieces of Route 1 as concepts, there'd still be 2 additional ones.
I would like that. I would like to see all 3 done, included. I don't know what the rest of the committee feels.
Well, we're
but-
working our way through it.
Right.
So we need to pick up the pace a little bit. Before we leave here, I just want to point out that there is about to be several hundred new residents on this hill that will be interested in crossing this highway.
And as part of that development is going to be doing a multi-use path on this side of Walker Hill.
Just down to,
Yeah, down to Route 12, yeah.
all the way to Route 12.
Yeah.
And then what? So that intersection is a dangerous intersection for pedestrians because it's so large. There's so much volume. And it only has one designated crosswalk on one side, on one lane.
So really gotta take a look at that.
Yeah, that for sure.
I have a so I know the Tri-Town Trail is like the elephant in the room, around here, but if you want to go up 117, I mean, this is be a good time to document desires and, for that, because there's like funding available. That's what we're looking at. But I don't know if 117 is the desired route or whether you can get to use it.
That's the elephant.
That's the
But if you are staying close to the road, I don't think that would be that I shouldn't speak for
Yeah.
you, but if you're staying close to the road, this isn't like you're opening the reservoir proper. That has been the issue. In my recollection, the issue has been opening the reservoir to the public. And if you stay close to the road and you're just adding the bike lane, I think that might be a solution that might be amenable to them. They may be willing to do that, right? Because then that might satisfy people that want to be able to connect the Tri-Town Trail, right? So it might not be a bad thing to do at this point. If we're going to keep people out of the reservoir, but still connect.
The benefit of using 117 is that you have a state home park and ride here. You have the medical facility that you can provide better or more broad access to. And that it's a transit, but it should be considered also a transit, right?
So proposed on Route 117 is, we have a side path proposed all the way up.
There's also the Marriott there, which they
Yeah.
might be interested in getting tourists into a bikeable situation.
Just for, was that not one that we identified as potential for a concept? Do you know why?
that,
we didn't?
I'm not sure why.
Okay.
Um,
That's something, I mean, we could go back. and take a look at that, if there's some desire to.
if I'm right, that's kind of like a straight shot kind of rural
Yeah.
road, like lots of trees, woods, so.
It doesn't have a lot of residents.
Yeah, that too. There's not
So-
like a ton of drive.
So there was a proposal to fund a side path project about 20 years ago. And there was actually design work done through concept to quite an extent, and Deb remembers this, by Groton Utilities engineer, when they were agreeable. This was pre 9/11.
All around exit 88.
Yeah, when
Going in and the stone, the old stone house.
so
Yeah,
Spartanauer
that's-
has the old stone house just north of Marriott, and they had design under the interstate. They worked out there was wetland. They looked at that, and then it turns onto North Road,
Yep, yep.
and it becomes a shared roadway on North Road. So there's actually a design out there, and you think you might have it?
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Be amazing.
So I would say hold off on that. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel, to
Yeah.
duplicate something that's already been done, at least in part. I think what we should do is continue looking at Route 1. Let's go ahead and get through Route 1.
There's not the same level of constraint on planners.
Okay, so hold on. Let's just say we had looked really in detail at that section of this.
Okay.
We still have Long Hill Road. My question is, if we get into areas of consecutive properties where we are on the property owner's property, what are the challenges for dealing with private property? Just for everyone's ears.
So within a lots of project or STP, those rights of way costs would be involved.
So the state, in this case, would negotiate a
The state,
purchase
yeah.
of each owner's property. But what if you have owners that say, no way, am I going
They
to?
can use eminent domain or they can win.
Yeah, or when a site plan comes in, that's when we require it. Yeah.
You know, sometimes we'll look at ownership. And, you know, obviously a plaza like this, we would assume this is, you know, one owner. But you know, when you have the smaller parcels, sometimes we'll look into those and that can even be, you know, a deterrent factor for why we have an alignment. One way is, you know, if there's a million different property owners on one side of the street and then one property, it's a lot easier to deal with one property owner. Hopefully, if they're, you know, all for what you're doing versus, you know, 20 different ones that you have to.
Okay,
deal
well,
with.
here's perhaps an upcoming case study. This property just sold. So you have a new owner.
Which one's that, Brian?
This is the Big Y Shopping Center, Big Y CVS.
Oh, yeah.
So that may be, I don't know if they would envision any change
Have not talked to anyone.
to it, just another commercial shopping center on it.
I also would love to bring up, and I feel like, I don't think that this is ever a popular idea, and maybe I just don't realize why. But like this, like behind these parking lots, I feel like it's just kind of somewhat, obviously less hectic space. But I guess I don't understand the disadvantages of ever like just going behind and running like a little scenic bike path behind like very congested areas.
Well,
And maybe that's an insane idea, but I don't know why.
I'll just start and Brian, I
Yeah,
think you
it's
can
still
pick up.
progress.
Sometimes, you know, cyclists like to the most direct route, especially if you're, you know, you're commuting to work or something. As you mentioned, like you know, a nice scenic route would be nice, but a lot of times I think, you know, people like to go the shortest distance.
Can I pull this up?
Just if it avoids like 16. and-
Yeah, no, we've done that.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Parking lot goes right up to it.
I can imagine them
Just pulling this. into the
Oh,
comment.
You know, it's
Oh.
it's also, there's no ownership. There's no public ownership. So you can't just tell a private owner, give us your property. With the Route
Oh,
1, which is the state-owned right of way, it's much more likely that you could say, we're gonna build this facility across the front of your property. We need 5 cents to get the frontage. Instead of we're gonna take part of your property.
So just for you guys,
That's-
this is the location for the proposed rail station. And to your point, the railroad is right behind you, and then that is Amtrak, and they're not,
Got it.
they agree.
So you can't just like go right up against the
You-
railroad.
I mean, they don't have control of property that is not theirs, but they are not interested in you encroaching on.
In any way, shape,
Ability.
Got it.
they don't talk to you.
Okay, fair.
Okay, all right. So this is the big Y shopping center.
Opportunity.
And then these are these smaller commercial uses.
This is where on the south side you get a lot more right of way,
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
that used, I believe. So this, when we're talking about switching to the south side, if, you know, the north side does turn out to be more preferable further up. This is where I see the south side being priority.
Right, and then this is an upcoming bike project. This is a route with on-street improvements. And if there is a side path on the south side, it really solves a challenge for that project. Which is on the next street, I think.
As a depot lab.
So,
South Road.
right, that project I referred to, it's on Depot Road. And then to connect from Depot Road to South Road. And really fit within the scope of work of that project, the pathway of the bikeway has to cross the intersection to the north side, at least for westbound users, and then cross back over to the south side, whereas eastbound users can stay entirely on the south side and just make right turns, which is great. But if there is a side path in both directions, then that really solves that problem for people going west. They don't have to cross through an intersection twice. So they're on the path. So that's another reason why the south side works better. At least.
Well, I'm gonna bring up another thing. This is a high crash location, at Route 1 is high crash location with several, pedestrian strikes. And there was a failed local road accident reduction project. The scope of local accident reduction, program is only on local roads, and that's why it failed. So the solution here, is we have a lot of turning conflicts into these businesses, as well as the driveway to the old school, and then a little bit later to the Connecticut Plains Park. But Virginie's Court is kind of a challenge because this is higher density housing, a little small ranch houses. And that's like one of two egress points they can get out on Depot Road. Can they get out on Ring?
Central.
Central. So they have three egress points. There were EMS concerns about accessing those houses, but we also have people going directly across, and this is all open access. So that was a big challenge. The solution, yeah, so it was access management issue. One concept was to put a barrier down one and right in, right out. That wasn't possible within local road accident reduction at all, because you can't make improvements to the state road. But that was DOT's solution, was a barrier. Just to prevent those cross Route 1 movements. I think we're probably like maybe beyond that concept.
Yeah, well, we tried to close off Virginia's Court here and create the cul-de-sac, so there was no access onto Route 1, except for emergencies coming off of Route 1, and we had a public informational meeting. We had about 100 people show up. We would have thought we would take everybody's houses. So they ran us out of the room with pitchforks. So
Yeah.
that program, or that project just kind of died.
Yeah, so that's kind of an ongoing challenge, and I think that Mark was saying that they're gonna redevelop Chester as a regional sports facility.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
But you have options, because you have access to the school from Harry Bay Road Drive, but also the driveway to the park.
So we have, also a side path proposed on. Moving to bring proposed on Newtown Road, in our plan, so is that kind of an area? Where if you have to cross the street, because you have the existing side path coming down here, and it ends. At Ring Road, yeah.
I think of it as really critical because you have the library and the senior center too as well.
Yeah.
So that's 117.
Yeah.
That's 117.
Right.
The one we were talking about with Groton Utilities before, that's that same road.
Right, so I guess I was more asking about the high pedestrian crash activity or straight activity. Is this intersection?
Yeah, it's right there, but
There's
the,
a lot of pedestrians use that intersection.
So is it more just looking specifically at how to improve the intersection?
the high crash locations extend, well back, like past
Yeah, I do have that, so I can.
Well, and there's actually,
Ring Drive is indicated.
So the intersection
All the way
is,
midway over,
shouldn't be
like,
considered
build on Midway.
a barrier.
Yes, there.
I think having a side path northbound on Newtown Road is the right thing to do because it picks up the library and
Yeah.
the drive plus facility, and then it connects further north to other destinations. So it makes sense. I wouldn't count it out just because this is a problem area. Okay, so now we're on the existing side path. And it terminates at Ring Drive.
Yeah.
And then we're on a sidewalk with a separation from the curb line, I believe. And we have quite a bit of right of way areas that the side path that we had proposed makes perfect sense. And is free of the kind of challenges that we see further west. So this is a really good solution. It becomes a little bit of a challenge at the top of Fort Hill where there is a free moving right turn lane. And I think in your planning today, as Francisco mentioned, the way to make this safer for cyclists would be to eliminate the free moving right turn lane and make it a conventional right turn so that you're only crossing the roadway once on a bicycle. And now it's your turn.
Yeah, DOT has a bridge project, they have two bridge projects down, Groton Point Road, and the Amtrak Bridge project includes buffered bike lanes to the El Grasso entrance, which is south of that intersection. Hog comments indicated that, you guys are doing VIP. You're doing this project, it's coming like within 400 feet of the intersection to carry the buffered bike lane to the intersection.
Wait, you meant the high school.
Yes.
You meant
sorry.
Fish High School.
I'm sorry.
Fish High School is there. El Grasso's down the hill, but so Fish High School is right there. That's okay. And that makes perfect sense, but what about removing that free
I think you
moving
can
right turn
consider
lane?
a roundabout for some traffic calming, because one of the other issues is that from this freeway intersection to Ring Road, you have a really steep hill. And we see a lot of speeding related crashes. We're also seeing side swipes because you have people who'd like to pass going north, going eastbound. So I think there's some crash history that you guys should look at.
What about the grade up? I think that would, we're doing it now, about just, the way the hill comes in.
I
We'd have to just look into
Yeah.
that.
The roundabout at the top of the hill?
That would be like this
Yeah, where the light
intersection
is.
right here.
It is so, I feel like that's.
I think that intersection requires evaluation,
Oh, for sure.
but you could definitely get rid of slip ramps.
Okay. Well, it's used by school buses all day long because of the, so that, does that mean anything? I just know
You
that.
could give them a truck apron if you're really concerned. like a paved, extra.
There's that whole big, huge road that goes up to El Grasso and then the backside of Fitch on the other side that a lot of cyclists use.
Right, so there is a secret shortcut that Maggie's referring to from Ring
It's
Drive,
a much nicer road.
which is here,
Mhm.
going in past the skate park, and then you can, and there's part of it right.
Yeah, you go right, it's a
That's
nice.
a private
very
drive.
easy way.
That's
It's
private,
private.
that's private,
Right,
that's
right.
well state.
Well,
So it's not an actual road, it's the driveway
Okay,
to the
but if it's
school.
the states, then it's public. property.
We have an easement over it for the school.
Formalizing it.
Yeah.
I think that that would provide a lot of benefit because right now, if you had them in your, I was gonna say that, but, having them in lane, the differential of speed for vehicles and cyclists on there is gonna be high.
Yeah.
And I'm also concerned about like more e-bike users, like, cause they're gonna be hitting 30, 40, 50. Brian, what do you do on the whole?
What?
Up or down?
That's Tom, that's Tom
Yeah.
on the hill.
40 isn't out of the question, not here. The only thing is, it's great on the state property, but as soon as you get into the high school, you're in parking lots. And you're in a lot of congestion and, you know, during the school, you know, morning and
Yeah, maybe.
afternoon, it's really not a place for cyclists to be shortcutting. So that's the issue there. But maybe there's a way to continue that path on its own real estate around the parking lots.
Or through with pavement markings, like a green pavement or something like that.
Are you talking about?
It's town property up here.
Party, or I was just thinking how insane it is with traffic. When
It
we
is-
try to leave,
It
we
is
work at
crazy.
Grasso.
Yeah.
And when we leave is when the middle school, which is abuts us, gets out. It is bumper to bumper all the way up that. It's crazy. And there's not a whole lot of room to go. And there's a couple that with the buses and, you know, you've got 3 different schools up there at the top of the hill.
It's great on the weekend.
Yeah, the weekend it's great.
If you could get though, like an actual bike lane, right up against it, that would be lovely, but.
Well, you know, we could potentially get public funding for a site path on Fort Hill Road. That would be a grant project. Okay. So we're now over the top of the hill, that's here. And we're still on this south side, which makes a lot of sense. And we're passing Splendors Road and we're heading towards Mystic.
So the farthest east segment on this map. Is that where we are?
So
9
here's
is where this
Splendors,
ends.
here's,
Okay, so
So
Moving into it.
so segment 2 is ending here.
On
No.
Knowing Ledger, yep.
Yeah, knowing pleasure though. Okay, so we've covered 1 and 2 segments of Route 1, okay?
regarding this section and this roadway, there was a significant fatality, about a month ago. There was, two.
It was for, I don't know. if
Like
it was at the
here.
Intersection,
Yeah,
it's
it's
down
right-
here.
it's right
Yeah.
here.
Here's town.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was down here.
And I guess my point is that I had heard that, you know, some concerns from constituents that there is sightlines for on that road and that, you know, the terrain is, it's hilly, it's very dark. If you were young people, and I think that there's some political motivation that may be capitalized on, you know, like if trying to get.
We might, is Fishtown Road down for 215?
It connects to 215.
I think that is, part of one of these segments and further along. Might be on the
Yeah, that
last
goes down
page.
to Knowing Road.
Yeah, that's this,
Depending where. it
that's
is.
this segment here. And
If
that's,
it's not that.
So
Yes.
consideration is you don't have any shoulders in here. And, you know, if you have people that are going 40 miles an hour down back road, like they were that might be not the safest condition with shared use.
okay, the third segment of Route 1.
So do we want to kind of keep this one as one that we're gonna do, we think? Sounds like.
Let's get to the end of one and then we'll pull the groups and decide what we're gonna do for one. Okay, so here's where we start, Fitchtown, going Cedar Road. We're talking about going up. It goes up
High
and
Meadow.
down,
Yeah.
and then it climbs up the hill. There is an existing side
Both
path.
sides, yeah.
So now this is transitioning
Yeah.
to bike lanes for everyone's reference, so no longer side path.
Okay, so right after where we just left off, this is
Yes.
bike lane.
So that's where it would transition,
Based on your.
based on
analysis.
our
Oh.
current network.
Okay,
That's, it's not finalized, it's still subject.
so,
to change.
so let's say that is implemented and you're heading west on Route 1. When you get to here, you're gonna wanna get over through this intersection and cross onto a side path, right? So that intersection is important, and like you said, that intersection is now under the microscope, because it's proximity to that crash. But FYI, there is, I guess you would call it just a
6 foot wide bituminous.
there, that's exactly what you're talking about. It's right through here. It's a walkway that's probably 10 feet off of the curb. line.
Right, that's like what, that's how I envisioned what you were talking about
Right.
behind all the
Goes to
plazas,
there.
but that little stretches.
Yes.
It's a walkway.
Yeah,
I
and
see
it comes
where-
out right here.
Yep. And then
It's
there's
just,
one on the
it
other
was
side.
because of subdivision that it was.
Right, that's a substitute for a straight up
Is it,
sidewalk.
it's not in the town right away though?
But
Or is it
But you
happen?
probably have an easement
Yeah, we-
for it if they required it, yeah.
There always was a trail in the woods.
So it's a walk, just,
Right.
it's
If
not,
that,
it's
that
not a
just
bike.
matters because
I
if
think
it's.
maybe I've ridden a bike on it, I think more times than not, I've just ridden out of the hill on the highway, because I didn't want to verge off into the.
Unless we rebuild it.
Yeah, hopefully it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, if we have the easement for it. yeah.
Okay, and then we're going around. We're here, that pathway comes out, this, we're at High Meadow, this is a neighborhood. This is another small subdivision. And now we're getting into curving on both sides, or on one side anyways. Eventually, that's the fire station. Eventually, we get into a, looks like a very narrow right of way and curves on both sides of the road. So what you are proposing is you believe there's space for bike lanes until you get to this intersection, and then you're proposing shared roadway.
This is where it gets very narrow. I think that was the section maybe we were talking about earlier.
What is that section? Is that after Allen?
Yeah, that's. the-
Allen.
Like almost down to the church.
Okay.
And the VIP repaving is from this intersection. Oh, from there.
It's the view down Water Street. It's a very short section.
Oh, I see. So this was just repaved, and you're right.
Yeah.
This was just repaved to cover the utility patching.
And they just did the, a few years ago, they removed all those Jersey barriers that were there for like decades. So that was just redone.
Yep.
And
Like
here,
that
this used to
still.
just be one straight road and then they changed it here. So I wonder if that's owned by, not something. Well, it looks like
It's the state roadway. Okay.
Do you think there should be a consideration maybe to, with this walkway and that intersection crossing to continue a side path if there's room down further?
Well, I wouldn't say that this qualifies as a side path, but perhaps it could be,
Right.
it
Turned
it
into
could be
one.
improved.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
improved within the
Maybe.
existing.
Yep.
I would say, yeah, so, I mean, there's some very challenging residential problems right here though.
And it's wet right up to the.
And there's sections, you know, so maybe not, because there's, you can see these four houses are right up against this road, and the driveways are there. And then there is
That's
a
why I-
brook that crosses right through. This is a bridge. And here, and it's very narrow.
Yeah.
There's, yes.
As
Yes,
it's
it's
all
possible.
hanging,
Yeah.
I would love it if you would send this map and maybe if you had a aerial with just pavement markings showing the bike lanes to District 2 this week. Because if they can fit it in VIP, then that's less you guys have to.
Is that a possibility?
Oh, wait.
What do you need?
I thought VIP was only there.
VIP,
Yeah, just-
isn't it Ring Road all the way to the border?
No, they just do a single short section down the Water Street and then Water Street to London Road. That's, I just got the letter like 2 days ago from DOT.
But it's on the list for it's on the 5-year list,
Oh,
so maybe it's 2026. Let me
So
find,
it's
let me
on-
find. the
next
other
year is
list.
just that little piece,
Elm to Water, and what was the other?
water down to New London.
All right, so maybe less urgent, but still DOT should take care of this.
So do we have the ability to ask for that to be prioritized? Mr. Chair.
Yes. But it's really important to know exactly what you're dealing with and whether or not, you know, a bike lane situation is even feasible, because without the pavement width in its existing condition, VIP will not widen a roadway. So you almost have to have a survey of your corridor in order to verify whether what you are asking DOT to entertain is even feasible. So that's my reluctance, is to say, I don't know whether we can even do that.
Have you done that then? Has the consultant done that with the survey in order to make the recommendation to us to do, no, it's gonna be a side path, no, it's gonna be a shared road.
Yes.
Haven't you already done that?
We've looked at like the roadway widths, and this has all on.
In
parking
GIS,
too.
but not an actual
Yeah,
survey.
we have general approximation, I wanna say it is like. Maybe yeah, the lanes are like 10 or 11, but there's really not a shoulder, and then there's on street parking. Like it's the sidewalk is right up against the roadway too, and you don't wanna necessarily take out sidewalk in such a pedestrian area.
No, there's no on-street parking where we're talking about in this.
Oh, is that section, not, I was looking down here.
Oh, down in downtown, for sure. We're not talking about.
Oh, sorry,
That's a whole different.
what section are we?
So we're looking at from Elm Street or from some. Say Allen Street. Allen Street
Okay,
to where your side path would take over.
yeah, so the way we kind of look at it is, can it either accommodate with the current width, or does it need? Like, if it only needs to give or take a foot or two, we're saying propose it, because you can, usually most likely if you're doing a wide right of way, you can get that extra foot that you're missing. So generally, we use like 30 feet as the rule of thumb for
30 feet for the existing pavement,
for getting a bike
for
lane.
getting bike lanes.
If it gets like, if it shrinks to 28 feet or 29, then we still will propose it, but it would need a roadway improvement project. too.
So I guess what we would ask, what I'm asking you to do is tell us whether we have 30 feet, 28, minimum 30 feet from Allen Street to Fishtown Road.
I believe that is, I can double check, but
And if we do, then we could theoretically ask DOT to consider bike lanes in their next VIP repaving of that section.
Which is coming up real soon.
so Alan.
Maybe as
too-
early as, as,
So I
doesn't
think-
sound like it's
I think
25.
Craig's right that they said they just mailed the confirmed 2025 list. The section that I have on Route 1 in Groton includes Stonington as well. It's SR 649 to the west end of Mystic Drawbridge. And that 649 Allen Street.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I was thinking 649 was, I was thinking it was.
Well, it's labeled here as 614, is that?
649. 649 is,
Oh, that's Clarence
CVS.
No, that's 349.
Here it is, South
There
Road.
we go.
South.
So
So it is
from
this.
There to there.
That's
Great.
next year. Next year they're doing that?
That was their like 3-year plan or something. I just mailed it to you.
All right, I'll send you what I got. and It says something completely different.
South Road.
This is like a longer term planning.
So in my GIS, I have noted for that segment of bike lane from Fishtown to Allen, that the roadways 28 to 32 is about the range.
Okay, okay.
And that was just sampling a few spots of evenly along, so.
So do we need a concept plan on paper?
So I would
be the
say if
best
you guys
way
are,
to-
you know, willing to put time and effort into Route 1, that might, you know, be enough to let them carry it through at least the bike lane improvement, through VIP. Maybe we can get the bike advisory board.
My advisory board has been working really hard with DOT to adopt more responsibility.
Is that Mr. Kent?
And they, as they explained, it's like, you know, that
We're
talking about billions of dollars of new,
Yep.
infrastructure.
Sure am.
Wrap up, you know, this.
I think it's a little bit more lax, so the only section, I think
Do they?
that's right.
They
It's
didn't
just
wanna
six-
say-
Allen Street to the.
I didn't
bridge
tell them, but somehow.
Next year.
Yeah, we're thinking, we're
And
going
they-
to have this wrapped up by the end
Yeah,
of the year.
well, it's been what, a month or so.
That's what
It's
it is.
not
Yeah,
better.
I know we moved it sent to say like, hey, where are we? And I
Yeah.
don't think you had back.
You know, I haven't been back from that. They're all over us at first. and Now we're falls in their part.
Hurry up and wait.
Radio silence.
All right, so we finished Route 1. And we've had like very positive impact, I think, on all 3 sections. And they, I mean, to me, all 3 sections are equally important.
So the Mystic Working Group is looking at this area from, basically from Allen Street, over to 27. And I don't know what will come out of that. They're looking at changing parking around. I know you guys have a couple parking studies. Looking at some short-term parking, like for freight, so that we can get rid of some of the congestion and friction from trying to find a parking spot. They're looking at a parking garage location. They don't, that report will come out before the end of the year, to the legislature.
Who is the Mystic Working Group?
It's a legislatively appointed committee with Representative Meskers and Summers, I think, as the chairs, and then are the legislative
Right.
people, and then a broad group of stakeholders.
All right, so let me poll the group. How many feel like all 3 segments of Route 1 are worth including?
Yes. Yeah.
I do. Okay. Yes.
I think all 3 segments should go.
Oh, and then Tom.
Yes, that's, I think we should do all 3 segments, recognizing that the downtown Mystic area at the bottom of, you know, from Water Street or whatever there's gonna be a lot of other factors going into that with parking and everything else, but we can start from at least to Allen Street. We need to be doing something.
Great, thank you.
So I just wanted to see if Cindy's still there.
I'm still here, and I agree with exactly what Tom said. I think we should really pay attention to the whole project.
Okay.
Buddington? Drosky?
Drosdick.
All right, so there's Buddington, Drosdick. Are they the only, are they the only 2 remaining or not?
No, so it's gonna
You
be
got-
Bennington,
Oh, and Route 215, right?
yeah, Flanders,
Like
and then,
Road. Oh, and Flanders.
and High Street, and then also 215.
Okay, all right.
These are shorter, but still gotta get through them.
Okay.
So this page is Buddington.
Brian,
Yes, Cindy.
sorry, this is Cindy. I don't think that it was Drosnick, was it? I thought it was Buddington.
Well, we're starting with
Maybe-
Buddington.
Crossing is not a,
Two draws there,
Yeah.
right? This is just our sheet.
Okay,
Yeah.
ending at Drosdick.
Right.
Thank you for that clarification. So Route 1 to Draws, okay, so there's Route, no, wait, yeah, there's,
Buddington.
you're on Route 1 here at
this is, yes,
Buddington, and Route 1 is
north of this way, that's why.
start point, right? And what have you determined is most realistic?
So in Buddington, we have proposed bike lanes. And we have pretty good right of way for most of the segment. I mean, it's very wide up here.
Except,
Oh,
it
does narrow.
That's mislabeled. Yeah, Pleasant Valley.
Yeah, that's not-
oh, yeah, that's,
Oh,
Yeah.
No wonder, okay.
can you cross through that?
Yeah.
That's fine.
which is Route 1, right?
Pleasant Valley.
So I think Buddington appeared on maybe GU's most recent or second most recent open space analysis as an alternative.
Interesting.
In what form?
That it would connect, would come up here and then take advantage of some. Maybe this is the crosstown trail,
Go up to the reservoir.
or there's some multi-use paths through there,
Is that what
but
it's called?
that they would use Buddington as opposed to 170 potentially, because there's fewer conflict.
And
I'm
that,
not saying that.
right. So are they proposing a side path along Buddington? I mean, surely bike lanes don't.
They didn't
or
get that
tri-town.
far, they were looking at corridor. I didn't. They didn't get so far as to talk about.
Okay, all right, but from our point of view. We're talking about bike lanes on Buddington Road. What about the condition of sidewalks on Buddington Road? Are there
If we were to
gaps?
Switch, this map has, I believe, there's a sidewalk. One, so the grades are kissing, so. You have sidewalk up till here, and then the gap on the east side, and then you have a gap on the west side after this existing sidewalk ends.
There's not much sidewalk there.
So there's no sidewalk in the
There's
north
none.
section?
It's like here, I believe, to here,
There's none.
there's nothing,
Okay.
and then there's nothing at all on the, it's all one-sided, what is it?
It's on the west side. From Route 1 up to maybe 95.
So that's here, you can see it.
Yeah.
Which side are you proposing to put a bike lane?
It'll be on both sides.
Oh,
There'll be a bike lane on both sides, right? One northbound, one southbound.
What's the facility for and where are they going?
Good question.
Well, they're going to 184, which is a relatively important east-west commuter route. So it's a connection between, the central business district of Groton and 184, and it's a flat, relatively short.
I believe
scenic-
initially we didn't have
connection.
this on, and then when we had our workshop, there were
Right.
a lot of interest
Right.
in capitalizing on Buddington.
Now, we mentioned Drozdek, but we're going beyond Drozdek. Drozdek's just the
Yeah, that just ended, Dawson was at the end of the first
first section.
section. Yeah, this is the
So we're
entire
talking
lane.
about going all the way to Old Star
Yes.
Highway. And it's, like you can see here, there's already shoulder.
It's a pretty wide
It's a
pavement.
very wide, I wanna say it could even accommodate a third, but we were.
Is that Gold Star that you're looking at?
That's Gold Star.
An encroachment permit? Or, oh, you don't need an encroachment permit, it's your road.
That's our road.
Yeah, so it's almost, I would call this low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And I would question whether we need a concept plan.
Yeah, it's seemed pretty straightforward for bike lanes. And like you said, the shoulder kind of already exists in most spots. I needed to.
So to clarify, you're not saying that you don't think it's good to have a bike lane there, but you don't think it's necessary for this particular project to deal with it.
So I'm giving it a lower priority right now. We need to get all the way through, I think, before we make any choices, but I was saying, to me, this is there's a lower need for FHI to study this.
I think maybe the thinking was because it's an easier plan to put together for if you wanted to get a funding, like a grant for it. It might be something that you could do quickly because there's not so many barriers to doing it. So I think that was Francisco's
Oh,
thinking.
okay, well, that's a good.
And I would say too, just because even if we pick not to do a concept here, doesn't mean we won't highlight it in the plan
In the
and
plan.
and point to it, you know, these are just the, concept plans that we're gonna develop into greater detail.
Right.
So it doesn't mean we don't recommend this in the plan.
I think it's fairly heavily used by cyclists.
I think you're right.
Cut over to.
Yeah.
Getting like over 34 feet.
Okay,
I just on a random sampling, so I think it is pretty wide.
I'll go for a bike lane would be lovely. But I always talk about.
I think we were saying like, you can put in the regular bike lane and still have a fairly not wide, right, like. Well, there, but you don't have to do too much restriking, like realign it too different, so.
Okay.
But we could look into that. too.
okay,
So do we want to move on and then
Yes.
this is sort of
Let's
the,
move on.
okay,
let's move on.
I think it needs to roll over. Crazy. There's less of a need to have a buffer facility, but. Landers.
So there is Route 1. And it's heading north. And it's a long stretch, crosses over 95, past the transfer station. And keeps heading north. Intersects Nomenclature Road. Which is here, and eventually it connects to the Gulf Star Highway again. And it was
buffered bike lane.
It was recently repaved.
Yeah.
Part of it
The whole-
anyway.
No, the whole length.
The whole length was repaved. And you're having the edge line.
They actually did it yesterday or 2 days ago. They put in yes, we have 11-foot travel lanes now, so the bike lane shoulder, if you will, is pretty wide now.
Are you marking it? Or is it not wide enough to mark?
I mean, we could look at putting a buffered marking and put signage up. It would be it's kind of like Buddington's an easy project to do.
Yeah.
We don't really need a consultant to tell us what to do on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I ride a bicycle on this road a lot. And to me, it just feels like it's just ready for bike lanes. There's really no barriers to doing it.
So could you include that, like you were gonna include the Flanders Road idea, like this would be good, but we don't need you to like put your professional energies into creating a concept plan for that road, but we would like it done.
Yeah, and in the plan, it will, the recommended proposed network map will have, descriptions of what each of these are, and then, it's just the concept itself, we might not to choose to develop.
And so here's Flanders Road on their map, and it's identified in the purple dash as a buffer bike lane. So it's already in the program there, it's in the plan that way. So recognizing that is,
I'm just saying it just so if anybody's watching this or listening, we're not saying we don't want these, we're just saying it's something the town could probably get done. It's not.
right.
Need some that we're not gonna do, so that's good.
Or we can do, like
Yeah,
the town can
fine.
do that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is this one? This is. Street.
So that's the intersection with Route 1. This is the
The Baptist church.
Baptist Church, white steeple. And then this is all residential, single family residential. Heading north into some open space, very scenic.
Very beautiful.
I mean, it's scenic in the residential zone because of the historic houses, and just the very established neighborhood. And then you're out here into the meadows, and this is preserved open space. And then you're into the underpass, and eventually you connect with Route 614 Calhoun Road. And there's hundreds of residents in this neighborhoods. So it actually makes a lot of sense from a transportation rationalization or justification. Because so many of these people could be riding a bicycle and this is so easily down this road, you know, versus driving and having to park somewhere downtown. And a facility like this would really, I think, help to stimulate that.
They have direct connectivity here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Across Allen Street or Calvin Road.
For this stretch, we're looking at shared roadway up until, where do I have it?
Peace Trust.
Please spend for.
You're on the Genesis, it's in the bike lane.
George Street.
Yeah, so bike lanes pick up, I'm trying to look on that map. Oh,
So here's
Sandy
the-
Hollow, or it's right at the Peace
Yeah.
Trust property corner.
So it'd be here. This-
Yeah.
This is the sanctuary, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it
Yeah.
ended on a road. I think it was just like right here.
Yeah, that's Peace Sanctuary, yeah.
That's where it opens up, I know.
Yeah.
So it's too narrow.
So I would
Yeah, that
also just point out
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
rural school, it might be redeveloped, right?
Hmm.
So that would, you know, in the short term, that would be nice to let them come into their space, like knowing that pedestrians and cyclists are a priority.
So this is where it would transition from
Oh, there you go.
bike lane to,
Okay,
or shared roadway back here to bike lanes.
okay.
So our concept would show that transition.
And you can sort of see,
So the concept plan on high, on the part that's at the top of the page, would be for shared roadway? Is that what you
yes,
said?
so shared roadway from Route 1 until this point here, which isn't.
And then
So it's like the
switching
entrance the
to,
nursing home, it's right here.
That's just where you start to get more right away and less residential properties.
so devil's advocate, do we need a concept plan to create a shared roadway on High Street? Mr. Hanover, what do you think? You're the public works guy.
No, I mean, there is on-street parking on that road, so be cognizant of that.
I think the idea of this was showing the shared roadway, because other concepts are side path and then we have bike lane, so this was something different. And yeah, dealing with the residential, dense residential properties, especially along this segment.
So you're saying it would be worthwhile to have a concept plan to deal with that particular type of circumstance?
I
That
think
we
that
could
was
use
just the
as a
thinking
pattern?
behind giving an option today to show a shared roadway concept. And if that means ultimately by the first one.
Well, out of the streets so far, this is the slowest street because of the density and narrow. It's I'm quite sure it's a 25 mph speed limit.
Yeah, I think it is.
And there are stop signs along the way. Cliff Street's a stop sign. Academy Lane is a stop.
You know.
Yep.
So you have 1, 2. So it does slow traffic down. So it's a great candidate for shared road. And it's heavily used already by cyclists. Okay. It's a candidate. Like we have 2 more, I think.
So are the ones, are like the 215 south of Route 1, are those shared roadway proposals also?
We're getting there.
So that's the next.
Yeah, that's next.
Concept.
Yeah.
I believe this is bike lanes. Or buffer bike lanes, sorry.
Okay, so this is the west end of it. So there's Groton Point Road, which we know is going to be a buffer bike lane facility.
This, I just want to say, because I think that's one of the most dangerous intersections in town for cyclists, because you come up a little hill and I ride it every day. So
It is very wide.
It's, well, not just because it's wide, but the visibility is forward. So, you know, you've got sun and other things, but you have to pull out to look and see who's going, and people go so fast, like sometimes 60, 70 miles an hour. And they use the side lane like it's a separate car lane. And so I just think it's really dangerous. And I feel like the crosswalks are in the wrong spot for pedestrians. I see people coming up with their dogs, like 3 or 4 dogs on a leash around this corner, and then a car will take that corner. It's an accident waiting to happen. I'm surprised there haven't been terrible accidents.
This rail bridge
Yeah,
project
we'll deal with
has
that.
has some ideas about this
Yeah.
intersection, but I would, forward
I
whatever.
thought they were doing
comes out
some-
that's-
Whether it's a
there.
three-way stop or
So
something.
in the public information meeting for this bridge, which was a few months ago.
know that assumption.
There was discussion of eliminating the little island, making it a tighter intersection with more enclosure and better crossings. And I know that DOT heard that. We'll see what the next iteration of their plans look like, but they were made aware of the.
Yeah,
of the
it's another
safety
just
issues.
heavily used.
I know that this section has plenty of shoulder to Prospect Hill Road where you might be able to do a buffer bike lane.
Yeah.
And then the right of way becomes like
Yeah.
ridiculously
So
narrow.
here it's Prospect Hill transition to, yeah, you can't fit much. And I think even bike lanes is like
It doesn't,
crazy tight, so. But with the speeds, we couldn't drop down recommending a shared roadway just because of when
so what do
the
you do
safer-
if you're on a bike there? You just take your chances. The good news is there's this 3-way stop at Marshall.
Yeah.
Are there road or traffic calming methods that could be employed in that section that would really throw or slow drivers? What could be done?
I think the issue with that was that it's a state route and, yeah.
I mean, this is like just a speedway.
Yeah.
This is ridiculously wide compared to that, it's so narrow, so they pick up speed there and then hit stop sign.
So DOT has loosened up their reins a little bit, and you could propose either a tabled intersection or a RFB. Or like maybe some shark's teeth or something at the, a enhancement to the crossing so that there's a little bit more advanced warning at least. And then I would also recommend like completing all of the movements for the, completing the movement across Mosher Ave because, like the drivers are gonna respond to that as well.
What do you mean by completing the movement?
Currently, there's only crosswalk across Route 1, but there's not on Mosher.
Yeah, there's
Sidewalk.
there's nowhere for a pedestrian to be there, but that one really should.
You
And
could
there's
be
there's no sidewalks on that corner either.
Yeah, it's on the north side of Mosher.
Yeah, that's the issue, is there's nothing there. For a pedestrian to.
Oh, yeah, there's only one side.
There's only
We
one.
just, we did the railroad bridge and.
Yeah, this is one of the trickiest spots that I've.
But is alerting drivers that they are now sharing the road with bicyclists just not feasible?
Well, if you had a bicycle facility and then you drop down to a shared road facility, you would automatically be required to put up the bicycle lane ends.
Right.
Shared road
Right,
facility.
right, you're gonna have to do that. At a minimum, that's what we end up with.
You can look at a number of different crosswalk.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the speeds aren't crazy.
I think it's 25.
It's 25.
Well, the 85th speeds are and more like 35. But I think with traffic calming within like DOT, the standards that they have, if you have traffic calming that you can bring it down to 30, I want to say is the number, you can have that shared roadway. So that might be what has to happen there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
LPA has new authority to be able to.
requested.
Yeah, cause even the right of way, I remember looking in like street view, like there's utility and
Right.
right of way
Right.
issues and.
Fortunately, it's only for that short segment.
Yeah.
And there is just a little bit of shoulder on each side. That if you're riding a bicycle, you can get out of the lane, right? I live right here, too. I do this all the time, too, so it's possible to be out of the laneway, be in this bike width, shoulder, gives you a little bit of protection.
I wanna say the road is pretty much the same width, but you get more of right of way.
More right of way. So we're now picking up here, this is Mosher, this is the cemetery, and there's sidewalks on both sides. And there's just a little bit of shoulder. All the way down to this is the culvert project that I referred to in the beginning of the meeting, so. Basically from Hangar Drive. Almost to this. Confluence of the Brook Street. And that is. You can have that, that's the culvert concept plan or preliminary plan. So that's a benefit, and then we're into virtually a uniform condition all the way to. Mystic. Where you have the same road width, you have the same sidewalk. 3 foot shoulders. Is that?
And is this that intersection? Or
Yeah, that's a down road.
down, yeah,
That's a paper street.
so that goes up to. Wherever that Fishtown Road is, right here. Was that fatality further this way?
Yeah, it was just in the middle of, at that curve on Fishtown Road. That was sort of a.
It was high speed driving.
Yeah, they weren't going forward. There was kids and.
That's just sad. But I mean, nothing that any engineering can do would prevent something like that from people driving. But this road needs sidewalks like a minimum.
Fishtown?
Yeah.
I think that should be reflected.
Like
Is that
years
on the
out,
list?
yeah,
Yeah.
because of the school.
Right here.
Is there a safe routes to school, watershed plan for that school?
Not that I'm aware of. There should be.
They also, I'm pretty sure that this school, participates in like Girls on the Run, so they, there might be an opportunity for, spend in that. Exciting.
So with the top portion of that page, the last page we're working on, would that be a good one to consider because it has then templates for us to use in other parts of town where you have the change from one type of roadway to another type
This
of
is
roadway?
this is one segment.
So then I would say that that segment would be good to do because then town staff would have something to use as a model.
Okay, so isn't there one more?
No, this is one
No, I think
segment.
we got them all.
Okay. All right, so, okay. These are 2 distinct projects, or this is one project?
No, this is one
No, this
project.
is Broad Point Road to Fishtown.
Right,
So it was
okay.
this one.
okay, what about Fishtown to Mystic? Did we not identify?
Oh, along Route
Right
1.
here.
Okay.
No,
Rest of- the rest
exactly
of
next to
Ninth Road.
Water Street and stuff.
Water Street to Fishtown Road on 215.
So the corridor is still like here,
Oh, so we said
Yeah.
we didn't.
which goes into the VIP area.
Yeah.
So
You're
you're
talking
talking
about here to here,
yeah. So if we continue down this road,
up to Route 1.
yeah,
It would
we'd
be-
get to
it
that
would
VIP
be- it would
section.
be- Well, what I'm saying is this is a corridor that connects Ground Long Point Road and Ground Long Point and Mumford Cove. And the other end of this is Mystic.
Water Street.
Water Street. So I guess I'm thinking, well, if you're gonna study this, you should study that. I think maybe we,
And that has
might
like
have
the
been, this is
technical
all
bit.
shared, what do I have, do I still have it as shared? I think it is. Yeah,
So
so after
shared
this
roadway.
point, it's shared roadway. Which I can tell him that that should be included, as a part of this concept.
So then that would be 3 segments of Route 1, 4 here, and then we'd have one other one to choose if we want this one. Is that, am I thinking correctly?
Yes, because there'd be 3, yeah, 3.
so it's, you've identified it as shared because you measured the road width and it's not, it's 28 feet.
I believe it also meets the requirements to be able to be shared, like the speeds and are low enough and the daily traffic is low.
It comes into a pretty high traffic area of downtown though, like I guess I just feel like the intersection between those two things is.
Well, I just feel like if you're gonna study Route 215, it needs to be studied from one end, from one logical end to the other logical end, not just stop mid block. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
or is no one, I think this is a commuter route.
Yeah, there's a
It
lot
gets
of bike
used,
traffic.
it gets used all day long.
Yeah.
The old
Is
state
that-
bike route.
I don't understand like the VIP here, but we kind of did the same thing on Route 1. Once you drop down into the downtown, so we sort of stopped and didn't go all the way to the bridge. It's the, Route 1 through downtown. Water Street is very similar to that section of 215.
Right, I think we're staying away from downtown Mystic because it is so constrained.
Right.
Right,
Well, that's the other study group too.
and there's another study group, right, there's all kinds of separate attention being paid to downtown
That's
Mystic.
what I'm saying about 250. Do we stop near your office at High Street or do we keep going into downtown? Like at what point does?
Where do we stop?
Where do we
Where
stop?
do we stop?
On the third concept does go all the way to the bridge,
Yeah.
so that would be looking at downtown.
Well, we can, I mean,
We can revise that too.
so how do you feel about 215 from Long Point Road to downtown? As a concept?
Well, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought you said you could just include that extra segment on with this last part, right? With this?
Or would that be a separate? Like.
It's just-
What is
I
this?
don't see why this,
Yeah.
we couldn't add that on.
Yeah.
Right.
To that, so this would be 1, we have the 3,
Yeah.
so we're really, at this point, I think it sounds to me that 215 is a priority for the town, for us to develop a concept. So it's really just that, the final one.
Right.
That we wanna.
Is there an opportunity for you to send the draft to DOT, traffic safety through the LTA, for comment
Oh, yeah,
prior to finalization?
we definitely want to do that. I would assume it's part of the, finalizing the draft.
So then I would say if I don't know if we're or not, but if we did 3 Route 1 this, then I think we should take a north-south, either 117 or Buddington as the final one.
Have you said, is there design already for 117?
No, that's it's 20 years old, it's the connection. Tri-County Trail. Came through,
But it
Yeah,
is,
that's what Brian said.
but it is potentially still a viable plan to dust off and evaluate whether it's still, so, I mean, it might be that 117 is a good concept for FHI to look at, because if you can find
But if, yeah,
the old plans, you could share with you guys could look at it, and you could say, yeah, and then you could incorporate it into your concept, and you would just have a lot of it already potentially done for you.
The motion?
Yes, I think so.
I'll make a motion that our 5 recommended concept plans are the segments of Route 1, the segment of 215,
From 1 to Route 1.
and 117 north, the north-south 117 route.
I'll second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know
Aye.
if Tom and Cindy are.
Tom and Cindy, did you hear the motion?
So I heard the motion and
I'm pretty sure
I can live with it. Yes.
Yes, me also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's a major central connection.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Whereas Buddington is kind of.
My only follow-up question would be on Route 117. We really didn't discuss it very much. Would that be going all the way from Route 1 all the way up to the Ledyard line, or would you be stopping at 184?
It's, oh wait, 117 was not a concept here.
It wasn't a previously identified concept, but it has kind of jumped the lines.
Yeah. That's why I was like, wait, hold up.
It says sidewalk.
And I like this, I imagine like go up to 184.
Yeah.
You know, because it is a long stretch.
Yeah. That was the Tri-Town Trail connection, yeah.
Right. Right. I guess you just need to look at it and just evaluate.
It makes sense based on what Kate said about, we'll start with Route 1. And you can revisit, we can leave that final one to last.
Leave it for let the town folk there dig through their archives. See if they have that. Hopefully they have it.
I mean, really, yeah, plenty to do, you know.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is great.
Progress.
Do we have more to do, Brian, or is that
Yeah,
it?
we have town project reports from Greg.
Okay.
Don't let him leave.
Greg, don't make.
If you gotta leave. So I have a question about the, streetscape is there, can you just tell us when the next event will be?
We tentatively have it scheduled to consult. I think it's December 4th or 5th, but we're probably likely going to push it out at least a week or so. I don't think we're quite ready for
Thank you,
public,
Kate.
public
you.
meeting yet.
Okay. All right, so coming soon.
It's coming soon, yeah.
Okay. For the River Road culvert project, look at more than just those culverts, or look like there's flooding all over the place.
Yeah, we just got the consultant submittals in for an RFQ we put out to look at the two culverts. As well as raising the road at those culverts, but yeah, we want to look at maybe a couple of their spots too as far as raising.
I know a lot of us have been going up and down River Road lately and hit it during high tide, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, probably 3 times a month now it's underwater.
Twice a day. And then you mentioned the traffic authority. The traffic authority keeps postponing or canceling their meetings because they don't seem to have an agenda or something. Is that?
They just don't get a lot of items, I guess, yeah.
So like, for example, have they considered a road safety audit for Route 1?
They did. They directed me to like fill out the form on their behalf and submit it, which I am working. I haven't completed it yet.
Okay. All right. And have they addressed the concerns of residents at High Street and Route 215?
I know they're doing they had some police doing some speed studies and stuff out there. I don't think they've quite resolved yet what they're gonna propose to DOT or ask DOT to do.
Okay, they calm down a lot there because the summer residents are all. And it's tourists. Yeah.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I'd like to adjourn today's meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second, please.
Second.
Favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned up there, Tom.
Have a great day,
Thank you.
everybody.
We'll see you.
Cindy, thank you for signing in.